What's going on, everybody? So as previously promised, I'm finally going to deliver the ranking of the Halloween franchise. I'm sorry I could not get this out on the 31st. My daughter was born on the 27th. I was in the hospital for 3 days with my girlfriend, got home, and for all of you who have ever had an infant know, any free time with an infant is time to catch up on sleep. So I have not had any chance to do a video before tonight. So as I've told you guys, I went out, I bought the Halloween box set. I watched all of them from start to finish, from the first one in 1978 all the way up to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. A lot of them I have never seen before, so it was really cool for me. It was kind of nice to do this during October as kind of like a Halloween theme. So I'm glad I finally watched this entire franchise because, you know, being a horror fan that I am, I always felt like I needed to, and it was just like a broken, like a missing piece of the puzzle that I finally filled in. So now I'm going to give you my ranking and short reviews of all of these movies, starting off with number 10. Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. This movie bored the shit out of me. It basically throws away that, if you call it shocking ending of 4, with, you know, Jamie being the killer now, and like she's like consumed with all the evil from Michael Myers, and they throw all of that away from the beginning of the movie. They turn her into a mute, which is a really weird decision. She just kind of for the first 2/3 of the movie, anytime she gets scared, she's just like, what the hell is that? Why would you do that? Something that I'm going to criticize for as well, but I'll go ahead and get it out now. Michael Myers' mask looks fucking horrible in those two movies. It's annoying and it's distracting for me. I don't understand how you can have budgets for these movies and you can't get a good mask when they bought the original for like $2. So that always annoys me when I watch these movies. I mean, I've seen pieces of these movies throughout the years. I've never seen the full ones until this past couple weeks. Sam Loomis, his character and his role in these movies is basically just, he's there to be there. He has really no story progression in this. He's just chasing Michael Myers once again. The ending was lame with the guy just comes into the police station and just shoots people, and then you go in and he's gone and Michael's gone, and what? So that's just, I don't like this movie at all. I'm not disappointed at all that I waited until I was 26 to watch this movie, because I don't think this is a movie that I would have revisited as a kid. You know, as much as a horror fan as I was, this is a movie that would have sat on my shelf, and that is, to me, the worst Halloween movie. Number 9 is one that a lot of people are going to put as their number 10, and that's Halloween Resurrection. Now, before the Rob Zombie movies, this was the most recent Halloween movie. This was the one that finally ended the story of Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis's character, and was going to bring Halloween into a new generation. Did it succeed? Hell no. This movie, from the very beginning, fails on pretty much every cylinder. Not only, just like the movie I just talked about, ruins the ending of the previous movie, the great series ending of H2O, they totally squander it with some stupid ass, ridiculous reasoning about some, you know, Michael Myers knew that somebody was going to be, you know, taking him away, so he took his mask off and put it on a paramedic after crushed his larynx, and he took the paramedic suit and he walked out, which Michael Myers never shows his face willingly, so that doesn't make any sense. 2, that is just totally out of this world, unbelievable. And it just totally cheapens and just squanders that great ending of H2O. So right off the gate, that's a horrible way to send off Laurie Strode's character. And aside from the fact, too, that she's smart enough to get him up on the roof and take his ass out, but then she's too scared to just go ahead and go through with it. You're already in the insane asylum, so what do you have to lose? Anyway, so that's the first 5 minutes of the movie. Beyond that, this is a 2000s horror movie. You know, it tries to, I give it credit for trying to incorporate some, at the time, new things into Halloween, like the found footage and the POVs, like with the little, you know, the little cameras that they wear on their heads, and, you know, stuff like that, which was cool and it was fresh for this franchise at the time. It doesn't really fit the franchise, honestly, but it was a good attempt. A lot of the acting is really bad. It was, you know, a collection of all of your young early 2000 stars and Busta Rhymes. I've never been a fan, with the exception of LL Cool J once in a while, I have never been a fan of music artists getting roles in horror movies, because to me that's just throwing a familiar face in there to fill a slot. That's not adding any kind of talent to your movie. And everybody always talks about the kung fu scene, which is, yeah, it's ridiculous. The ending's bad. Just there's some good one-liners here and there, and honestly, this is like a guilty pleasure Halloween movie. I don't think it's unwatchable. I think Halloween 5 is unwatchable. This one I can at least be entertained at how bad it is, but it's definitely bad. So that's number 9. Number 8 is Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Now, this movie could have been something cool, but it was plagued by a lot of production issues. It's famous for the production issues. You had a studio that wanted one movie, you had a director that wanted one movie, you had a writer that wanted one movie, and somehow we got a kind of mishmash of all three of those, and it's a total mess. They had the producer's cut come out after all these years with the box set, but it's honestly not a whole lot better. It's just a couple lateral moves here and there. It's not anything that really fixes this movie. This basically is the one that tries to bring in the story about Michael Myers being who he is because of a curse, like the mark of the thorn, and there's this cult that keeps him alive and keeps him like feeding with evil. And it was an interesting way to take the series because 4 and 5 just were so, by the end of 5 it was just so played out, you had to do something different with it. You had Paul Rudd in his first role, which is a really weird, he's got a really strange performance in this. A lot of his performance is like really strange looks, like, so it's a really odd first performance from him. Sam Loomis, this was his last movie, Donald Pleasance, before he passed away. And again, just like 5, he's here to be here. Because Michael Myers is there, you have to have Sam Loomis, I guess. What this movie does, though, that makes me put it above Resurrection and Halloween 5 is that it's actually pretty gory. And they actually have some pretty creative kills. Like, he takes out Jamie with a piece of farm equipment. He throws her on this equipment with these spikes, and he turns it on, and it starts scrambling her up. And, you know, he's got a girl, he just shoves her head onto this little drain pipe, and, you know, it's... If you're going to go the gory route with Halloween, they did a pretty good job with the kills, I thought. The story is really bad. There's a lot of conveniences, like Paul Rudd's character just finding the baby in a random bathroom because he just decided to go to that bathroom. Like, there's a really bad stuff in this movie, but just like I said with Halloween Resurrection, it's entertainingly bad. And it's a shame that we'll never see what the true intention of this movie was, because I think it could have been a really cool installment into this series, but because of all the production problems, because of the really weird story that they didn't quite execute well, all the cooks in the kitchen, this one's going to be number 8. Number 7 is Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Now, this is the one that they basically said, okay, fans, we're bringing back Michael Myers. They had Halloween 3, which I will get to later on in my list, which had nothing to do with Michael Myers, and all the fans were pissed off. Nobody went to see the movie. Everybody bashed it, and they wanted Michael Myers back. None of the creative forces behind Halloween wanted to do Michael Myers anymore. They thought the story was wrapped up in 2. Honestly, they really didn't want to come back for 2. They just thought 1 was a good story. And I tend to agree. Halloween 4 switches the focus from Laurie Strode over to her daughter, Jamie. You know, we don't get really any explanation of where Laurie Strode is. I think it said something like she's dead, or, you know, she's supposed to be dead. But we don't get any kind of payoff with that character. And Michael Myers basically gets resurrected because somebody mentions around him that he has a niece. And all of a sudden he's reanimated and he's back and he's here to kill. This movie is more entertaining and it's better done than Halloween 5, but a lot of the problems I have with Halloween 5 are the problems I have with this movie. They're just scaled down a bit. The mask looks horrible. The story is a retread of what we've already seen numerous times. Jamie is an interesting enough character because it's a little girl. It's not a grown woman getting chased by this killer. None of the kills are really all that memorable in it. Michael's just walking around. And this is the movie really where Michael Myers started to turn into a zombie. You know, he had a little bit of that in Halloween 2, but this is the one that really solidified it. He's no longer like a supernatural type presence. He's just a mindless zombie walking around with a mask. So Halloween 4, I give it credit for being better made than Halloween 6, Resurrection, and Halloween 5, but it's by no means a great movie. I know a lot of people love it. I'm not one of them. So that is number 7. Number 6 is Rob Zombie's Halloween. Now, a lot of people are going to be surprised at where my Rob Zombie films are on this list because, one of my most popular videos, or really my most popular video on this channel, is my Rob Zombie review for his movie 31, which I absolutely demolished. So, I'm not a fan of his movies, his directing style, his writing, his casting choices, anything like that. But his Halloween movie and his Halloween sequel are his least offensive movies to me, by far. The first 30 minutes or so of Rob Zombie's Halloween is absolute garbage. He tries to tell the story of when Michael Myers was a child, about his white trash family is the reason why he's evil, and you've got performances and writing in the first half hour of that movie that is so fucking bad. Like all the just vile, over the top, just F word and cunt and everything like that. Every 3 seconds dialogue that Rob Zombie loves just ruins the first 30 minutes of this movie. When me and my dad went and saw this in theaters, we had high hopes for this, and that first 30 minutes we were just like, it's another one of those Rob Zombie movies, Jesus Christ. But after you get out of that, whenever he's in the insane asylum, once he's breaking out and it starts to kind of retread the story somewhat of the original Halloween, it's not that bad of a movie, honestly. It is kind of tethered to having to retell the story of Halloween, but I like a lot of the cast. I like the girl who plays Laurie Strode. I think Scout Taylor Compton, I believe was her name. She's really good. The other two girls, you have Danielle Harris, who played Jamie in Halloween 4 and 5. She's in this, which is cool. It's a cool little throwback. I love all the, horror alumni that he has in this cast from, I forget her name, but the lady who played in The Howling, she plays Laurie Strode's mother. You've got the voice of Chucky Brad Dourif as the sheriff, and he does really good. You've got a lot of horror movie throwback alumni. The kid who played Malachi is in this, and I love that aspect of this movie probably the most, is that it's like kind of a love letter to horror movies in a way with the casting. So that mixed with some pretty decent kills. I like some of the directions that he takes this movie. I appreciate the fact that he tries to do something different, but just the first 30 minutes of this movie is what holds this back a lot for me. But it's a pretty decent movie. So Halloween for Rob Zombie is my number 6. Number 5 is 1981, I believe, Halloween 2. So the sequel to the original movie. This movie should not have existed, honestly. The first movie was so good and it was so simple in its execution, which I'll save, you guys know what my number 1's going to be. I'll save all that for that. But the way that they kind of take the direction in this one is when they start to make him just like a zombie. Like I said with number 4, it kind of started with number 2. He's just walking around. He doesn't really have a whole lot of a scary presence to me. In 2, they up the gore a lot, which doesn't do the movie any good. They push Jamie Lee Curtis to the side for a side character. She's barely in this, which is a big mistake. The whole revelation about Laurie Strode being his sister, and that's the reason why he keeps coming forward, they kind of gloss over it. They don't really make it this big, Darth Vader moment like they should have. They have a conversation between Donald Pleasance's character, Sam Loomis, and a nurse in a car where he's or she tells him, oh, well, that's his sister, and that's why, and oh my God. And then we never even get to see Jamie Lee Curtis's reaction to this. We never get a scene where she finds this out. That's what this movie is missing. If that had been in this movie would be higher on my list, because that is just such a huge gaping hole in the story for me that it's almost unforgivable. But this movie is a classic in its own right. It's a lot of people watch Halloween 1 and Halloween 2 back to back because they somewhat go together almost as one film to a degree. It's very jarring, the style change if you watch them back to back, but the overall story arc is definitely like one movie. This picks up immediately after the end of the first one. So it's enjoyable. It's my favorite of the original Michael Myers series pre-Rob Zombie sequels. But I still don't think it's that great of a movie. So Halloween 2 is number 5. Number 4 is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Now, Halloween 2, when I walked into it, I had very low expectations. I went into it because I wanted to see a horror movie, and I was going to give Rob Zombie another chance. I don't know why I keep giving him chances, because I don't like the majority of his movies. But when I walked into Halloween 2, I walked out very surprised at how much I liked that movie. It's by no means perfect. There's still a lot of the problems that plague all of his movies, with bad dialogue and the overuse of just really vile dialogue and some wonky performances here and there, but this is the Halloween that Rob Zombie was able to take all the leashes off and do whatever the fuck he wanted. And the movie actually, surprisingly, does really well with that, because he gets to take it all in his own direction. All the small little changes that he does to Halloween lore and the character Michael Myers, I actually liked a lot. Some people are absolutely pissed off about it, but I thought it was really cool. It was really fresh. Like the fact that he doesn't even have his mask on most of the movie. He's just like this walking bum, basically, until he's kind of called back to go find his sister. The fact that every time he's killing somebody, he actually get grunts in this movie. Like if you rewatch it, he's like, and just that little detail kind of, it's different enough that I liked it. The kills are absolutely brutal in this movie. This is by far the goriest and most demented of the Halloween movies, which again sets it on its own little level. I liked the story progression in this one. I thought that the whole revelation, like I was just talking about, what was missing from the original Halloween 2, the whole revelation that Laurie Strode has when she reads Sam Loomis's novel and finds out that she's Michael Myers' sister, I thought that was done brilliantly. That was a really clever way to have her find out. And I really liked the direction that they took Sam Loomis. That was a really different direction for that character to go. It's way better than him just constantly just 10, 20 years of him just lurking around waiting for Michael Myers to show up in the other sequels like 4, 5, and 6. This actually gave him something different, and it made sense. You know, if you have somebody like that who goes through all that hell trying to contain that guy, and you almost die, and then now supposedly Michael Myers is dead, and now he's trying to profit from it. I mean, that's not commendable by any means, but that's an interesting character direction to take him. So I like that they did that. The only thing that this movie really suffers from is, once again, he has to shove his wife into every movie. So that whole thing with her and the white horse, all the symbolism there, to me, that's Rob Zombie trying too hard to have something deep in his movie that doesn't need to be there. I never liked anything with the white horse. I don't feel like he really nailed the ending to this. You know, pretty much the only version you could find on Blu-ray is his director's cut. You know, in the theatrical cut, whenever they're in that little shed, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie, but when they're in that shed and the police are surrounding it, Laurie Strode ends up stabbing him in the face, Michael Myers, stabbing him in the face a bunch of times, and she walks out with his mask. So it was kind of like her giving in to this like growing rage and insanity inside of her, which is another direction that I like in this movie, is they kind of give her character a nice little, you know, Myers family direction. But in the director's cut, Michael Myers pushes Sam Loomis out of this shed and he says, "Die!" and he stabs him, which is not executed very well. It's really corny. And he gets shot a bunch of times, and it's done really cheesy. He just sits there and he falls down. Laurie Strode comes out, and then she's insane now. So I don't feel like he nails the ending. If he would have done the ending better, I think this would have been damn near a perfect Halloween movie, because it's really, like I said, without getting too redundant, I like all the unique directions that he takes this. This is by far the most unique Michael Myers sequel that's out there. So I'm a big fan of this. If you haven't seen it, or if you hate the first one, give it a shot. That's number 4. Number 3 is a movie that not a lot of people are going to agree with being number 3, but this is the movie that came out in my lifetime. I went to see it in theaters. I always loved the ending, and it's always had a special little spot in my heart for a Halloween fan. That's Halloween H2O. This is a very typical early 2000s slasher movie, but this is the continuation of the story of Laurie Strode. This continues directly from Halloween 2, and it ignores all the other sequels. And they do a really good job at bringing back her character. Jamie Lee Curtis delivers a really good performance in this. And the ending of this movie, like the last 15 to 20 minutes, are great. Her just being tired of being a victim and running and being scared all the time and just walking through that university with the axe and calling her brother's name like she's just tired of his shit. And she just fights, and she really whoops his ass for the last 15 minutes of that movie, and finally just takes his head off. was a perfect ending to that series. To me, that is the ending of the Halloween series right there. Is, you know, for the all intents and purposes, 1, 2, and H2O are the only movies that I really acknowledge for the most part as being like part of canon. So I love that movie. I know that it's like I said, it's very 2000s. You got young actors in there like Josh Hartnett. You got LL Cool J. You know, you got Joseph Gordon-Levitt in the beginning. There's some really creative kills in this, like with ice skate to the face, and the girl who was Nash Bridges' daughter getting her leg taken off by the elevator. And there's a lot of really cool kills in this. I'm a big fan of H2O. That's my number 3. Number 2 is a movie that the majority of people out there do not give enough credit to because it does not have Michael Myers in it, and it is an absolute shame. I never saw this movie before until about 3 weeks ago, and damn if I'm not pissed that I did not grow up watching this movie, because this is a movie that I would have went back to time and time and time again, just like I did the original. That's Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Now, after they did 2, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill were done with Michael Myers. And the idea was to take Halloween and turn it into an anthology series that every single year at Halloween they would release a new movie focusing on a different story, much like American Horror Story. And this was the first one that was supposed to be the kickoff of that whole idea. And this basically tells the story of this Irish mask making company called Silver Shamrock. And they make these 3 masks, and whenever the kids wear the mask on Halloween night, they're going to play a commercial where, you know, all right, kids, wear your masks. And whenever they wear the mask and that commercial plays, it basically kills whoever's wearing the mask and releases bugs and snakes. It's a lot cooler than it sounds. Releases bugs and snakes and everything like that, and different little creepy crawlies that would kill everybody else in the room. So it's basically kind of like a play on trying to kill all the kids who come out trick-or-treating. And it is a really cool, unique, fun 80s horror movie. You know, people talk about the annoying song like Happy Happy Halloween, Halloween. But this movie it was a lot of fun. And the kills are pretty demented in this. Like, this has some of the most creative and wicked looking kills in the series. There's one where a woman's tampering with one of the masks and a little laser beam shoots her in the face, and like her face kind of splits open like a hot dog in the microwave. And the ending is really cool because it's one of those endings that doesn't necessarily end on a good note. And just this was one of the most unique ideas that I've seen for a Halloween movie. And this is a movie that from now on I'm probably going to watch this almost every single year in October, just like I do the original. So I loved this movie. Honestly, as much as I love the character of Michael Myers, part of me has a huge curiosity of what kind of ideas we would have gotten if they would have went in this direction and stayed on it and not let the box office scare them, because nobody went to see this movie. Everybody was pissed that Michael Myers wasn't in it. And a lot of what we've gotten since then with Michael Myers hasn't been all that great. So a big part of me would want to see what we would have gotten if they would have stayed at that course on that anthology movie. So if you have not seen Halloween 3, if you are scared away from it because it doesn't have Michael Myers in it, or people tell you it's not a good movie, or whatever the reason you're, you know, skeptical about it, put all that aside. Just sit down and watch it. It's 90 minutes of your life. I promise you, if you are a classic horror movie fan and a fan of 80s movies, because it's very 80s, I guarantee you're going to walk away liking this movie. I loved it. That's my number 2. Number 1, I'm not going to be too in-depth with this because I have a full review if you guys want to check that out, obviously, is the original Halloween. This is one of the greatest horror movies of all time, one of the greatest movies of all time, the definitive slasher out there. John Carpenter, his second best movie behind The Thing. A lot of people would put it as his first. And this is the one that started it all. Not just Halloween movies and Michael Myers movies, but slasher movies in general, because this is the one that, this is the pinnacle of slasher movies. This is it done right. This is a movie that focuses on tone and lighting and atmosphere and making a character scary because he is just pure evil. And he is the shape, and he is part supernatural, not because of gory kills or, you know, CGI and all that kind of stuff. This is a damn near perfect movie. I love Halloween. Obviously, it's my number 1, undisputed, no question about it. So that's my ranking for the Halloween series, guys. Please put your comments below. Put your own ranking down below for what you think of the Halloween series. Put your own ranking from 10 all the way to 1. And are you interested in this new Halloween sequel they have coming out with John Carpenter on as a producer? Are you interested in that? Put that in the comment section below and let's talk about it. Like and share this video, and please hit that subscribe button. That way you get to come back and see me next time. But if that's not soon enough to check out some more of my videos, you can check out a few more by clicking right over here.